Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Very excited to be working on this tonight. As you can see, it is nighttime. I've been working all day. I really wanted to get this done in the daytime, but just with my work schedule, I've just not been able to work it out. So kind of bear with me on the lighting. I do have some lights for y'all. These are what I call the daylighters. So the lighting should still be pretty decent for the most of it. As you can see, it illuminates things pretty well. It's like having two little suns on your side there. So we've got that at least, so the darkness isn't going to inhibit us that much. But what we're going to be working on today is the new Edge, the 99 kind of budget V6 Mustang that I've been kind of working on a little bit here and there that I'm going to be slowly putting out some more videos on. Has this massive dent in the bumper. Now it has had this dent since the day I bought it, and it has been a massive eyesore. So the hood currently has some clear coat peeling, and there's a little bit of body damage along this back quarter panel. But the main eyesore of the car is this dent right here, and it needs to go ASAP. And I don't know, I've just kind of been putting it off. And then I saw somebody taking a bumper off one of these cars, and it was not difficult at all, which we're going to be seeing if it's really difficult or not today, just with some basic hand tools. And as you can see, we are on jack stands and oil changing ramps in the driveway, and we're on a gravel driveway. So if I can do this here, you can definitely do it wherever you are, unless you live in like a mud trench in Nigeria, which I hope you don't. But if you do, we'll set up a GoFundMe for you so we can buy you some jack stands. But that's besides the point. We're gonna get this started. Now, you're gonna kind of be going at this with me because I've never done this before. But basically, you're gonna pop your hood, or excuse me, you're gonna pop your trunk, which usually working on Fords, I'm used to popping the hood a lot, but your trunk button is going to be kind of inside your glove box here if you don't have your key fob. And so we're going to pop the trunk. Obviously, we're going to go back here, and there's no handle, you just lift up. And as you can see, we've got a lot of junk in there. And now it's gone. So now we got that junk out of the way for the most part, except for some jumper cables and some synthetic oil, which if you have a Ford, you're going to need a lot of oil. Coming over here inside, and sorry for the bad lighting, but we're going to try and fix that as best I can. So coming in here, we're going to look down, and kind of behind the trunk latch, you're going to see these push pins right here. Now, there's kind of these little push pins and these little wing nuts all behind the trunk once you open it. So you're going to be looking at these as if you were inside the trunk. So you're going to be leaning over the back of the car getting these out. But they are really not too bad to get out, all things considering. So what we're going to work on is getting all those wing nuts out of the inside of the trunk lining. And once we get that out, we can access the bolts to hold the trunk on, or sorry, the bumper on. Now there's only, I believe, about 7 bolts holding this on, and they're pretty small. And so everything else is kind of like a little screw here and a little screw there, and maybe a push pin. Now they do make kits for those push pins, and I definitely won't be using screwdrivers the whole time. So we're going to ignore those, and we're definitely going to use the proper push pin remover kit with the little plastic molded tools. In case you did not notice, we will not be using that kit because I don't own it. So if you want to for this job, you are more than welcome to go on Amazon and probably spend a few dollars and make it a lot easier on yourself. But I like doing things the difficult way and learning the hard way and then telling other people how to do it right. So if you see me do something, probably do it the opposite way and it'll turn out way better for you, especially on this car because this car is really cheap, and so the repair methods have also been very cheap. So we're going to get these pins out, and then we're going to come back with the next step. All right, guys, so once you get your trunk opened, there's going to be a liner towards the back, and right here at the trunk latch, you're going to have this kind of liner right there, and then this little plastic piece is going to be sitting right there. Now there's just 2 little plastic pins which look just like these, and I just pried them out, definitely not using 2 flathead screwdrivers because I didn't buy the right kit, but I pried them out with those. There's supposed to be one little thing up here on each side right above here, and you just kind of pop it off. I only had one. I assume it's either been taken off before or it's been lost. And then there's 2 screw-on ones right here that go into this liner. You can see the holes for them. they're kind of right behind the taillight, and they thread onto this. There are quite a few threads, so I just took a drill with a flathead and drilled them off real quick. Now, once you get those things off, you pull this back, and as you can see, there's a bolt right here, and there's a bolt right here. So there's two on the passenger side. Once you come back, kind of looking towards the back of the trunk, a little light fixture fall, but as you look in the back here, kind of directly behind the tail light, there's one sticking out right here. It's not this one, but it's the one below that, back in this cubby hole. Now you can reach it with about a deep well and like a 2-inch extension, so it's really not too far back in there. It's a little hard to see right there. And then you come around, and there's one right here, kind of right to the driver's side of the trunk latch, so it's kind of right in the center-ish, kind of back in here. Going around to the other side, we have another one kind of tucked under, and then there's two more over here. There's one right here and one right here. Now I believe these are all 7/16, and I'm just going to use this impact right here to back them off. So we're going to get right back once I get those bolts out. All right guys, once you get those nuts off those bolts there, it took me probably about 45 seconds with the impact. It's not difficult at all. I know it looked a little confusing on the camera angles, but the camera just makes it hard to see. They are not hard to get to. Now once you get those off, you're going to come behind on the fender wells here, and towards the back of the fender well where the bumper kind of meets the quarter panel, that's where we're going to see these two Phillips head screws. Now these screws right here, you're probably not going to be able to reach the bottom with a screwdriver, maybe a very short stubby one. But what I have here is a battery wrench with a Phillips head bit in it, which is kind of unconventional, but I don't want to go out and buy the right tool right now because Harbor Freight is closed. So basically you're just going to set that on there, and you're going to take these two screws out. There's going to be two on each side, and they should both be equally as hard or as easy to get to. All right guys, so the final step to getting this bumper off is underneath there's going to be, yes, more plastic push pins. There should be one on the end, 3 in the middle, which is the 3 we see right here, and this one's not aligned right for some reason, which I do not know. And then there's going to be another one on the other side, which we actually need to find, and I do not see him right now, so he's probably going to be difficult, but I believe it is this right here, and mine is missing, which is very encouraging. But once you get those pins out, we should be able to pop it right off. All right guys, so basically once you get those 3 bottom pins out, and like I said, there's going to be one on either side. It's going to be about right there. It was the ones that I said I thought were missing. They had already been pulled out. My guess is that this has already been taken off before. So when you come over here, they say, if I can get you some light, they say you're going to need to pull down on the side here. So pull off on the side of the bumper. They say it breaks it loose from all the studs kind of holding it, and you can see your studs. It may be hard to see with the camera. There's the bolt that you did the nut off of on the inside. So you're going to pull down. You're going to do that to both sides. And supposedly this can be a bit of a pain to get off. So once you pop it loose, you may have to work with it a little bit. Once you pop it loose, we're going to come over here. We're going to kind of pull off from the center. Now you may want to be more delicate with yours. I'm not too worried about this one. Oh, we may have to use some lethal force. And there it pops right off. Yes, mine is very dirty. As you can see, it's been on that car a while. I'm not going to purposely try and scratch it, so I'm not going to move it on the gravel too much. But there's our indent there. Looks like Lizzo said on my bumper, so we need to get that sorted out. We're gonna try the heat gun and get it warm. We don't want to melt it. We're gonna try and use the heat gun to try and push it out and try and get as close to the OEM look as we can. Okay guys, so we got our bumper off. It's in the garage floor, excuse the messy garage. But I'm gonna take our very reliable and old faithful 2-speed or 2 heat setting Harbor Freight heat gun. And I'm going to hold it on the bad spot of this bumper. I'm not gonna hold it too close because we don't want it to melt. That's the thing, we want to get it hot enough to kind of manipulate and make it malleable, but we don't want it to melt. So I'm just gonna hold it on there. I'm not even gonna make y'all watch all that. But once I think it gets to the point where I can move it, I'm gonna turn y'all back on. Okay guys, I got the heat gun on it for a little bit now, just a minute or two, and it's already almost too hot to touch on the other side. So I'm gonna try not to get it too hot, but I am gonna try and see if I can push some of it out. So I'm gonna prop you up here on our workstation, on the tripod, and that way you can kind of get a view of what I'm doing, but I can have both hands free because I'm gonna need them for this job. All right guys, we are pretty warm on this crater we have, and so I'm gonna try and just start using a rubber mallet and just kind of pushing down to see what kind of play we can get off this. It's got a little bit of a strength still to it. It cooled off pretty quick, so I'm gonna try to hold the heat gun on for a little bit and kind of do it as I'm holding the heat gun on. This heat gun has 2 settings, 572 for a low setting and then 932 Fahrenheit for the high setting. So I'm keeping it on high, but I'm kind of keeping it a little farther back. All right guys, so I've got the heat gun on it while I'm gonna be pressing it out. I think that's gonna make it a little bit easier to get out. Go ahead and back it off. And just like that, I don't know how well it came through on camera, but I just took this rubber mallet in and I just kind of pushed in and it just fell right in. I think the key was having the heat gun on the bumper as it was being kind of manipulated, because the second I turned the heat gun off, it went down to normal temperature. But wow, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. That was not difficult at all. That turned out to be a pretty easy deal. My main fear is when we flip it over, we may see that it either A, pops back in, or B, there's some paint discoloration where it got hot. I think any sort of discoloration is going to be better than the massive Lizzo-sized crater dent we had in the bumper before, which was really an eyesore. So I'll take a little bit of a paint fade over that any day of the week. Okay guys, we are going to flip this bumper over and we're going to see how it turned out. So I haven't turned it over yet, so I'm just going to flip it over. Okay, so it's definitely better, but we do have some lumps. It's hard to pick up on camera, but there are some lumps in the side there, particularly right here. There's a little bit of a crater. It's definitely better than what we had. Obviously, we can't fix where the paint crumpled. It is a plastic bumper, but overall, I mean, that's a million times better. I'm gonna see what I can do as far as just kind of hammering those little dents out with some more heat, and then I'll give you an update once I try that a little bit more. Okay guys, so we got it down pretty good and we got it pretty leveled out. I went through and I hammered on it some more with a hard kind of a hammer-like rubber mallet, not so much the big ones, but a smaller, more precise one. And this is kind of what we're left with. It looks a lot better. Unfortunately, in the search for perfection, I went and hit it too hard and got it too hot, and I put a pretty bad crack in it. As you can see, it's right there. I'm kind of frustrated about that, but I did this as more of a learning experience for me and y'all. So word to the wise, if you have a bad dent, I would get it as close as possible to being good, but once you get it there, don't do too much. That's what I did. It didn't take me just a couple minutes of messing around with it, just a little more than what y'all last saw, and I screwed it over. So I would recommend being patient with it and not getting it too hot. Here's a little bit better of a view, but it does look a lot better. You don't have the crater dent in it anymore. It matches the other side a lot better. And for a $10 or $20, whatever it was, Harbor Freight heat gun, and kind of be able to push this out, I'm gonna plaster weld or JB weld or whatever weld this crack right here. But overall, I'd say it was a pretty positive experience. I mean, it was easy to get the bumper off, and I think for getting that crack out or the big dent as much as possible out, I say we did pretty good. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'm sorry for the bad lighting, but we're working with what we have out here on a Friday night after work trying to get something done. So I thank y'all for watching. Have a good one.